does the way how does the way you have found yourself impact your marriage?
Man, I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't even be
That's a
married.
good first start. That's a good first start. Yep.
I tell you what, that's why I'm writing this book I'm writing. I'm writing a book. It's called How to Heal and Find Love.
Okay.
And the reason for it is because a lot of the other things that I talked to you about, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything that led me to drugs and crime. A lot of it was rejection, not fitting in, not feeling like part of the crowd, not feeling love. You know, I had relationships. I wasn't abstinent or, I just didn't have any luck. I attracted all the worst people. Why? Because I wasn't whole. I was operating out of lack. I wanted someone to love me, to need me, to make me feel better about what was going on inside. Now, when you're reaching out into a relationship out of lack, you're going to accept things you shouldn't accept. You're going to tolerate things you shouldn't tolerate. You're going to ignore red flags because you feel incomplete. But when you are complete through yourself, nature, and the glory of God, now you're operating from a totally different space. You love yourself. You love life. You love the world. And that love will attract right back to you. You know, I didn't know this when I was miserable. I hated myself. I hated the world. I hated most people. That's why I could never find love. But when I started loving God and loving the world and loving myself, I was married a year later. I met my wife, it was a year later. And how this process helps my marriage, to answer that question, it's a philosophy from something called Lean Six Sigma. Now, in Lean Six Sigma, when I was a manager in a warehouse learning this processes and procedures of everything, it made me learn that there was processes and procedures to everything in life. And all you have to do is Google it or YouTube it or internet it or meditate and align, and you'll figure it out. It's all step by step, but nothing happens in one great big leap. You may have to break it down into little tiny microbial goals if you're anything like me, because if I look at something too big, it's daunting. I'll never start. But if I go, we'll just do this and then just make the phone call, just write the email, just do that, then it builds up. Now we're working with something here. But another ideology that we have there is continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is the philosophy that you can never be perfect. You can always get better. Every stepping stone that you reach, every height that you climb, there's something better. It's like when you rise up to the top of the mountain, you realize that was just a hill before the mountain. And now you have a whole nother thing to climb. But don't be dismayed. Don't be upset. Like I said, when the work's done, when God's work's done, it's time for us to expire. So relish in the challenges. Relish in the next mountain that you just uncovered as something for your life's work and your life's purpose. So when I got into my marriage, I was thinking I was great. I meditate now. I don't do drugs. I'm a pretty good dude. Oh, man, but I learned I had a lot left to work on, didn't I? Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
Or
that theory came back into it, continuous improvement. Okay, so was my wife wanting me to get better at certain things? Yes. Was I willing to do it? Maybe. Let's see how she is, because we're very early in on this thing. We just jumped into kids and marriage. We loved each other. She was very reciprocal towards what I had to offer her. So in this way, I talk about this in the book as well. We kind of nipped at each other's heels and shaped and guided and molded each other because we were willing to change for the other one, because that was our level of love and commitment. Also, with us understanding continuous improvement, we can only get better if we work together. And then it goes back to the Bible, iron sharpening iron. Hey, babe, you think you want to work on this? Yeah, if you work on that, you work on this, you work on that. And as you flow like this with your wife or your spouse, if you choose correctly, you both climb to the height of major success. And through my marriage, have I not only become a better person, which is the very most important thing. I mean, my wife has healed me in ways I didn't even know I was broken. And I believe that I did that for her. And I think through the work that we've done together, we've created 3 strong, healthy boys, emotionally stable. They know how to meditate. They know how to do breath work. They know about God. They're all straight A students. Well, one of mine hasn't hit school yet, but he will. Very healthy, kind, compliments on all of them. We've done that through working on ourselves. You want to be a good person, work on yourself. You want to be a good parent, work on yourself. You want to be a good husband or wife, work on yourself. And we've done that for each other. We'll both readily admit, my wife's a nurse practitioner. I'm a small business owner and a successful podcaster. I've recovered from all the things that we've talked about today. I would have never done any of those things if it wasn't for my wife, and she wouldn't be who she is and what she is if it wasn't for my love and support. So
How
choose
old's your old?
wisely, my friends.
Beautiful.
Choose wisely.
How old's your oldest?
8.
8. Oh, you're still in the sweet spot, man. That's
He's a stud
beautiful.
too, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very proud of my boys.
What's your writing process like? Are you disciplined about it? Do you write when it happens? Do you?
Yeah, it's tough. Good question, man. Great question. I think that it's not something that I've talked about much, but if when I have talked about it, I've said this. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
I've made a goal to finish the book by the end of 2025. I've been working on it for about 6 months now.
Do you handwrite?
I type.
Okay.
I have it shared and saved a couple of different methods so that if I lose it, because I was talking to my wife saying, okay, I'm about halfway through now. If I lose it, I think I would cry.
Oh
Because
yeah.
it's like it's my heart and soul. I mean, I'm literally pouring everything I have, all my wisdom, everything I've learned, everything I possibly came across that has helped me, helped my loved ones, improved the quality of my life. I'm pouring it into this book. But it is extremely difficult for me. I think that it is extremely beneficial for anyone to write, whether it's they're writing a book or it's just their journal or their private diary, or something that I really find beneficial is the just writing down my thoughts. It helps me think about my thoughts, articulate my thoughts, understand if I'm wrong or I'm right, if there's another perspective or another angle that I need to look at it from. So writing really gives you that. It gives you that full perspective on like what you're really saying and how you really feel. And if there's something or another piece of information that may change how you feel or what you're saying, and that is lifelong learning and that's progress within itself. So the process of writing, I think is really important for everyone to pick up. The discipline aspect of it is difficult because I don't want to write, just like I don't want a podcast. I don't want a podcast if I don't have something profound to say. I don't want to write and say something that's been said a million times, very similar way. I want to say something. No, go.
I can teach you how to podcast without having anything profound to say. I got
Here's
you
some
covered.
pretty profound stuff. But the thing, you understand what I'm saying. It's kind of that perfectionism within me. So I don't like podcasting on no creative juice. I don't like writing on no creative juice. I try to increase my creative juice by putting my bare feet in the grass, getting the sun on my skin, getting that good vitamin D, getting out in nature, taking the cold shower. The cold shower is going to increase serotonin, the dopamine. It's going to increase testosterone. It's going to help drain the lymphatic system. Then match with the sauna. You get the toxins out. You really get the vibing. Eating healthy organic food, especially fruits and vegetables, eggs. I eat a lot like that. I started my morning this morning with 2 hard-boiled eggs, some blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, and like a banana. Like that's literally what I ate because I want my brain to be supercharged for this podcast. If I were to eat something sugary or something heavy, then I would have been like, "Hey, can we end this thing already?" But
Burton, you
so
go
those are
long.
the things.
Do you know about the morning pages?
No.
Writing tip, because I used to ghostwrite a lot of books.
Okay.
And there's a book called The Artist's Way, and it's about like how to it's first permission to be creative, to write a book, to start a podcast, whatever. But then it becomes like then it teaches you, once you've given yourself permission, how do you enhance your creativity. And so the morning pages are, when you get up, and I know you like morning ritual. When you get up, one of the first things, you can make coffee, you can pray, you can do but one of the first things you do is you got to hand write 3 pages. You can write Robert for 3 pages, but you got to hand write 3 pages. And so you would think, well, no, what that's going to do is make me tired of writing. I'm not going to want to write later. Actually, the opposite happens. It flips a switch in your head from input to output, because most of the time we get up in the morning, do a Bible study, that's input. Watch the news, that's input. Whatever you do, it's all input. And then you have to pull a 180 to start creating. This gets you creating from the get-go. And then and it actually makes it easier then when you have time to write to get into that gear, because you were all right. You already did the cold plunge. A little more cold's not going to bother you. You're actually comfortable with it now.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip, man. I'm going to take that to mind. That's what I was getting into is although I do things to get the creative juices flowing, I do have to have a discipline aspect of it where I just sit down and write. So
Right.
that would be a good start. It's kind of like working out. That sounds weird, but it's a paradox.
It's
Because
exactly like working out. The more
you
you
feel
work,
like you don't have the energy to work out, but if you start, you'll get more energy, and just like that.
yeah. But the great thing about the morning pages is you're not writing about anything. You can if you want, but there's no
Here they
mandate.
come.
It's just write the word watermelon. I've done it. Write the word doorknob for 3 pages. It gets you writing.
Yeah.
Do you still work out?
Yeah, sure. Not as much as I used to, because that could become an unhealthy thing as well. And when I first started,
I might be there.
yeah, well, I think it's the way that it goes. When I first started living differently and making healthy decisions, I really got into the aesthetic of it, the ego of it, and I actually injured myself a couple times doing that. Now I work out about twice a week in the gym with weights, and once a week or twice a week at home with either bands or light cardio. But most of the time, my workout really is like work outside. Like, I got a lot of yard work I do and gardening, and I make sure I'm bare feet in the grass, sun on the skin, getting a good sweat. But yeah, I think that physical activity is of the utmost importance. I think that we should all strive to work out a minimum of 3 times a week. If you could do more, great. It doesn't have to be long, 20, 30 minutes to get you going. But definitely not as like extreme about it as I was when I first.
What's one thing you can't leave Earth without doing that you haven't done already?
I want to learn how to fly an airplane.
Ah.
Yeah. It's like I don't have a bucket list because once again, like the sadness, I have thought about death extensively and read books about it, but I've come to peace with it. And so I don't really think about a bucket list. But one thing I always talk to my wife about is like, I'm going to learn how to drive a boat, which I know basically, but I don't have my license. I live in Florida. I should, right? Get the boat.
You should.
And then the next thing is I want to learn how to fly an airplane. Yeah.
What would your wife say is the best thing about you?
Sure.
I can hit pause. Well, you would have to, but we can hit pause if you need time.
No, you know what, man? I would hope that she would have many nice things to say about me, as well as some grumbles, I'm sure. But the best, I just don't know. Maybe I need to learn my wife a little better. I'm going to work on that. I don't know. I'm going to ask her tonight.
There you go. What's the best thing about me? I've asked my wife that question, and it led to long pauses.
Oh, usually it's her asking me that question.
There you go.
What do you love about me, Robert?
Yeah.
Everything.
That's the right answer, by the way. Do you, having been in the system, were you ever on probation?
No, I was on parole. I skipped probation just because of the nature of my crime. I don't think I was eligible.
Okay.
It was already, my first charge was a 2nd-degree felony, so I think I was out of that probation.
How'd you get 19 years down to 6?
Well, it was they do a lot of scare tactics. I think all court does.
Yeah.
And when they give you the 19 years, it's because they want you to say that you go to court and it's the first hearing. There's many more hearings in New Jersey, at least. You go to arraignment, you officially get charged with the crime. You say guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Then you'll come back a few weeks later. When you're inside, they don't really speed up the process. Had I bailed out, it was $1 million bail. I wasn't bailing out. Or $100,000 bail. I'm sorry, I exaggerated there. $100,000 bail. It might as well have been $1 million to me.
Yeah.
But I wasn't bailing out, so there were no rush. The process of my court, it drew out about 16 months. So it was the arraignment, not guilty. The first court that was when they offered me the 19 years. That's when the switch made, and it went progressively down. And the reason why it went down was because they really had no evidence. It's details that, maybe not necessary, but the victim was really my co-defendant. There was a lot of
okay.
different things. It really was more of a scam went wrong. I did have a weapon, which is why it was labeled robbery, and then it was labeled first-degree robbery. But because there was no violence, no one was harmed, and then they found out a lot of information, not from me, because that's why they give you the 19. They want you to.
Yep.
I ain't got no time for that. No one put a gun to my head and made me commit crimes. I was a bad person, but I wasn't that bad of a person, like a snake, to start telling on people or anything. So the next time it was 15, no. The next time it was maybe a little less. I think it went down to 11 or 10, and then ended up getting 5, really. The only reason why I did 6 was because as soon as I got down, other charges popped up, and I got like an 18-month tacked on top of the 5. So I ended up doing about 6.
What's your relationship to signs? I have to signs. Like, I have this theory, like, I could tell you a great jail prayer story if you want to hear it.
Sure.
So my story's, I did not have the experience of having to reconcile what I did with deserving jail. And the second time I went to jail, was bizarre. So now I'm 6 weeks separated from my family, and there's no. The second time, maybe the first time, there was some, okay, I made some mistakes. But the second time, there was no mistake made. And so I'm there, and I'm like 7 weeks in, 2 weeks of solitary, and blah, blah. And I'm like, I have seen, I don't believe in God because I think God works for everybody. I believe in God because I've had prayer answered directly.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I'm sitting in a cell, and it's like 7 weeks. I don't know if you've had those days where I'm like, look, I can't do another day in here. Like I'm just can't do. He's laughing because he knows I can't do another day in here. So I get down on my knees in the cell, and I'm like, God, I can't do. And it was during lockdown, so you get like 2 hours in the afternoon where everybody's got to go do whatever they do in the cell, and I'm like, I can't do. I'm not gonna make it. I'm telling you, I'm feel my head breaking. This isn't gonna be good. I gotta go. It's gotta be today, God. And I don't know if you have this experience, but sometimes I can tell when I'm praying whether God is like really listening, and other times I'm not as connected. But sometimes I'm like, oh wait, God's hearing this. 15 minutes later, cell door pops open. Judge just wrote a letter. You're out.
Wow.
Yeah, how amazing that within 15 minutes. So if you think prayer doesn't work and you're listening to this, prayer works. So then I started looking at signs, and I'm like, all right, well, like my dog can hear things I can't hear, right? So there's frequencies I'm not aware of. And maybe there's a language that God speaks that I can't. I get like, it's funny because we ask God like, well, what's the meaning of life, and you don't ever like get a clear answer. Yeah, maybe you're getting a clear answer. It's just at a frequency of a dog whistle, and you can't hear it because God's not you. God's not a person. God was, but God's not a person. And so maybe God speaks at different frequencies you can hear, and maybe one of those frequencies is signs, right? Like maybe. Oh, go ahead.
Oh. No, I'm writing down. Go.
Oh, okay. So maybe God speaks to you at frequencies you can't hear, and maybe you have to maybe to have a relationship with God, you have to open up more to, I ask you a yes or no question, you either say yes or no. Right? Like God, I ask God a yes or no question. Maybe God has a different answer than yes or no. You have to open yourself up to that. And I'm starting to entertain the idea that signs are one of those things where like God says, look, yours and my relationship isn't a podcast relationship. We're not word for word. We're not looking at each other all the time. It's deeper than that. So I'm going to communicate with you on like, yes, we're going to pray and I'm going to talk to you and you can hear me sometimes, but I'm also going to send you, I'm going to send you physical stuff because that's the frequency you see and hear at. Like if God answered what's the meaning of life verbally, I probably wouldn't get it. It's complicated algebra. I probably wouldn't get it. But if I say, God, am I going to be okay? And I did this. I'm like, God, am I going to be okay with this whole probation thing? And if I am, then send me a feather. And God sends you a feather because because there aren't words for the rest of what's going on. What's your relationship with science?
With signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I thought you said science, and I thought as long as it's not government-backed science, I trust it.
No. That right. Thank you. No, science is coming next. No, science.
Well,
In your
real quick,
faith. In your faith. I mean.
there's mathematicians out there that have said that God exists, and it's proven mathematically. I mean, it's something beyond my understanding, but so is God, and its frequency, as you're saying. So I think that I first want to talk about that prayer that you had. That's an amazing story. I mean, that's a testament. You need to be screaming that from the rooftops. And I'll
Yeah.
match it with the story of my own, although it's very much less wow factor. Not only, well, you said, if you're listening to this podcast and you don't believe in the power of prayer, here, I'm going to give it to you. I'll take it a step further and say, it doesn't matter if you're praying specifically to Jesus or Allah or they don't, in my opinion, I've never heard a Buddhist prayer to Buddha. They don't worship him like people worship God. But in any way, I made a similar prayer at my breaking point in jail, understanding that I'm seeing people that do pray, the Bible study groups, the Muslims pray every day. And I think even here right now in jail, their lives are better than mine. So I did that. And I prayed. And when I prayed, I let loose every guilt, everything that weighed on me. And it was extremely powerful immediately in the feeling that I had of relief. Like the power of just speaking out everything that I was embarrassed, ashamed, guilty, all my worries, everything, just speaking it out into the universe. The power of that, once again, I was in a cell by myself at that time, so I was able to pray aloud. And the power of that in itself radically changed my life before I ever came back to Jesus Christ. So that is the power of prayer, and prayer works. You don't have to even believe. At this point, I didn't believe. I was coming off being an atheist for years and years and years. I just saw people that prayed and thought their life's better than mine. My life kind of sucks. Let me try that.
Yep.
I tried it and it worked. The voice of God. I think that I say this in my Bible study sometimes, and I always add the side note that I'm not crazy. I don't think I'm talking to God, but just hear me out. A lot of times when I pray, I feel as if you do. Like sometimes I feel more connected.
Right.
And when I ask a genuine, pure question without any sort of agenda for personal gain, just something that, we Christians, Buddhists, any religion, people that practice yoga and spiritual stuff, we're all seekers. We're all seekers of the truth. And I believe that through seeking, we shall find. And I think that God and creation honor seekers. And every now and then they'll drop a little hint, drop a little clue. Things that we're ready for. Things that we've done the work to be ready for. Because if you drop it all on you now, you're going to go crazy. It ain't going to work. We're not ready for all of our past lives and all of the wisdom of the universe and the galaxies and beyond and God and devils and demons or whatever is out there. We may not be ready for all that knowledge. But if we seek, we pray, we'll see these signals that you're talking about. And we'll hear the voice of God. And when you hear it, it'll be clear. And another way that you can hear it better is by eliminating these distractions that we're talking about. The worldly stuff, the cell phones, the drama, the TV, the programming on radio and television and all these different things. The last thing is the signals that you're talking about. And I am one that finds signals and signs everywhere and everything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But hear me out, is I also found beyond the belief in God to be beneficial in life is attention. I think our attention is our superpower. And when we pay attention to the subtleties of life, when we pay attention to the things that people don't pay attention to, it can all be our teacher. and this has been said before many, many times. I'm not exactly sure where it originated from, but I know Rumi says it and some others. If you pay absolute attention to the world and everything in it and slow down time, stop the mind racing, be here, present in this conversation. The wind's blowing, the construction guy's going behind me, I'm speaking, Justin is listening, and I'm here right now. There's something that I can learn. But if I'm here and I'm thinking, what am I going to eat as soon as it's done? And where am I going to go later? And what time's the wife coming home? And what are we going to do? Then I'm not able to learn now, here in this present, and see any signs and signals that may be coming my way. I do believe that nuggets of wisdom and truth are laid down for us seekers, people who do the work to enlighten us on certain topics in our life and in the world in general. But we have to be paying close, absolute attention to it to find it. And the last thing that I'll say about it is we also have to be very wary when we see signals and signs. What does it mean? How do we interpret it? Are we interpreting it in a way that our desire wants us to? Like, God, if I could cheat on what I said I was going to do for Lent, have that leaf blow that way. And I go, oh, it did. I'm going to go cheat, because I want it.
Well,
so we have
that
to
leaf
be
didn't blow,
very...
but that other leaf blew that way. So that's what God really meant. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
We have to be very careful. So I take these signs and signals, omens. I see it a lot in animals and birds and the way that they behave when they're close to me. I don't buy too much into it, because who am I to interpret what God is trying to say, and how can I interpret it in a way that means something for me? So I try to just register and see, meditate upon it, think about it, and even if I come to a conclusion, I don't hold it as concrete, and I allow it to flow and adapt. But definitely take notice and definitely register.
There's a follow-up question to this question.
Okay.
You're pretty deep into scripture?
Well, I wouldn't say deep. I got through Genesis, I got through the Proverbs and a lot of the stories about Jesus, but I've yet to actually read the entire Bible.
Oh, okay. No. What aspect of the canonical Christian faith do you have the most trouble with?
Well, I think that I struggle the most with the actual belief in what the Bible says, because it can get weird, and it also was written by men, and some of it, to believe it in a historical way, although many things that are in the Bible have been factually proven in history, some of it, as because the Bible lays out a history of events if you read it from front to back, although it can be hard to understand. That's actually the challenge that we're taking on here in my podcast during the Bible study, is trying to fit the Bible together as a chronological story that actually happened.
Three times I've read the Bible front to back. I went to college for it, so I read the Bible front to back 3 times. I still can't put it in chronological order.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge, hard, but I think that's the hardest part for me. The hardest part for me is believing the words that were written by men that are about my God. I do believe that Jesus was the Son of God. I do believe he lived and died for our sins. I do believe that he was resurrected from the grave to eliminate our fear of death. That's my personal opinion. That's the way that I've interpreted it. But a lot of the other things in the Bible...
I never heard that before. That's a fantastic interpretation.
Well, that's my personal belief, yes.
No, but that's great, because I always struggle with that. My career concentration when I was in college was pre-seminary, and it was always, Jesus died for our sins, and I'm like, that's dumb. Like God's pretty smart. There must be something else that you could do for our sins other than kill your son. And then I'm like, well, wait a second. But what you just said makes so much more sense. Jesus died and is risen, so we don't have to fear death because we know what comes after.
We will be risen as well. I mean, that's my opinion.
That's great.
I get a lot of goosebumps and chills just thinking about it.
Pardon my cursing, but finish the fucking book, bro. That's great.
Well, I appreciate you saying so, and I really think so. I mean, I think I struggle with death. I fear death, and I read a lot of books on death. One by Sadhguru called "Death," a book for all those that will die. But when I really started examining that part of the gospel, that's what it meant to me. Like, you know,
That's
we're
great.
not going to fear death. We're going to be risen and be with God
That is
forever and ever and
great.
ever.
That's
And
great.
that's my personal belief. But that's what reading the Bible and getting to know Jesus is all about. It doesn't have to be for everyone. It is about you and your relationship with God.
What
And
a fantastic. Do you go to church?
so I go when I can, when time permits. Um, but I had something I want.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
that's what I wanted to say. Is that the belief that he died for our sins, to me, is a damning one to most Christians. Because, like I spoke of, a lot of Christians sin all week because they think they're forgiven. They don't war with sin. They don't battle with sin. They just sin. Well,
Right.
I'm forgiven. Well, we're forgiven. Or, we're human, so we're going to sin. Yes, you're going to sin, but don't resign yourself to that fact. Don't just do it without thought or without battle or without war and then go and think you're forgiven. So I think a lot of Christians' relationship with sin is incorrect. To be, blunt, I think that he died to teach us that everlasting life truly exists, and we should not fear the death of the body. And the sin we should be at war with, very much so. Are we forgiven? Yes. That doesn't give you it's like if you get the preemptive pardon, like Fauci. It doesn't mean I'm just going to go commit crimes or
Right.
sin because I
Right.
was forgiven. No, we're
Right.
at war with sin. We are to live pure and righteously, and we will fail because we're human, and then we're forgiven, not for purposeful sin. And that's what a lot of Christians I see doing.
How do your deep and profound and wise religious uh religious perspective, does that impact you politically?
Well, I mean, I'm a Christian and I'm conservative, so I voted for Donald Trump, and I will always vote for a conservative Christian. Now, does that mean I really like Trump? No. Does that mean I agree with everything he does? No. But to me, I really disagree on a fundamental level of our entire government and the entire system. It's all corrupt. It's all designed to keep human spirit low and the greedy, rich corporations, Satan worshippers, rich, and to put their foot on humanity and make us not know we're powerful, make us not know we're worthy, make us think we're not capable of greatness. Because if we rise up, if we stop living in their system, if we stop buying their food, going to their banks, going to their hospitals, then the whole thing shuts down. That's why my life work really is now to become more and more self-sustainable. I'm teaching
I'm
my kids how to fish. I'm teaching my kids how to hunt. I know how to grow my own food. I know how to collect water and purify it. I'm getting ready to go look at a couple acres next week that I'm going to buy and start a farm on, because I would really like to, more than anything, take myself out of the whole equation because it's corrupt and vile. But
it,
that being said, I do agree with Elon Musk and everything he's doing. People are hating on him. He's eliminating fraud. He's running the government efficiently, like he did his corporations. That needs to be done. There's so much crime, embezzlement, fraud. It goes on and on and on, and it gets worse than you can even imagine. So I agree with that. I agree with most of the major moves that Donald Trump's made. Does that mean that I agree with it all or believe that our system is flawless? Absolutely not. But
it's
it was one of those things, a lesser of evil, and at least he changed his tune. I think he's listening to his political advisors and keeping his mouth shut sometimes. I think he's opening his mouth about things that matter, like the Bible and God, and keeping women safe in their sports and doing some of God's work there. So you just got to take it the way it goes. But
it,
ultimately, we cannot look at no political figure. We cannot look at no preacher. We cannot look at no human being. We can look in the mirror. We are the ones that have the power to change our life, to create our wealth, to improve the quality of our lives. No government official is ever going to come into your life and make it better. So all the beef and the yelling and the screaming and the whining about political affiliations and who's doing what, to me, it's all counterproductive. I voted
it,
because I believed in it, and now I'm done with it. I'm on to the next thing back here in my life, in the power that I can control, and therefore your impact will grow, that you can affect more.
this
But
is
I'm
this is
focused on me.
this is so funny because I'm the political opposite of you. I lean so far left, and I agree with everything political you just said.
Well, I'm grateful for that. You know, I've done some shows with people during the election season that were voting for Kamala and everything else, and I will commend that we've all were able to keep it, keep it civil. And I do respect everyone else's opinions. I just encourage everyone to keep an open mind because how many times have I been secure in what I thought was true and then had new information presented to me and
Right.
realized I was wrong?
Right. What question did I not ask you
I don't
that I
know.
should
We
have?
we
What?
covered it all, man, I think. And I'm grateful for you and this awesome conversation. And in fact, I'm even more proud of it knowing that we're so far separate in our political beliefs, but we're able to have such an amazing conversation, supportive one. I hope that
That
the listeners get some value out of it.
they will. And it's funny. Like I do I do a series called Civil Debate with he's a Republican senator from New York, or a candidate, senatorial candidate from New York. And if you can't talk, we're all screwed. So you got to be able to. And
Yes.
the other thing I find too is, like, we're so reluctant politically to say I agree with you on something, even though I don't even I meant what I said. Like, I lean way left. But everything you said, I'm like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
and
right
I
there.
don't
Like, you
ask
got to
that
be
you
able to
agree.
do that.
Yeah, and I don't ask that you agree with me. I appreciate it. I think that us, me being more far right and you being far left, I think it's one of the most important conversations that I've had this year is because you are right 100% in the fact that as long as we're arguing, as long as we are bickering over, there's stuff right now that they fight over on the Congress floor that's really obsolete to like where our country's going and like the
Right.
success of us and our people. Like I'll watch congressional hearings on stuff and just be like, what is it? Why is this even a thing? Like we're paying all of their paychecks right now.
Right.
But we need to be able to talk. We spend time bickering and fighting and arguing. It only serves the people way at the top who are collecting all the money and letting us all bicker it out because no progress will ever be made as long as we're doing that.
Have you ever been congratulated on your life?
I think so a couple times, man. The trick of it is have I ever been congratulated on my life from a person who I would now feel validated from that I know I did it. Um, I
Can I
have.
take a swing? Can I take a swing at it?
Shoot,
Having been there,
I'm,
can I take a swing at congratulating you on your life, having kind of been there? There's nothing. This is what I admire about you. There's nothing rehabilitative in the system almost at all. If you bump into something redemptive or rehabilitative, it's by accident. You were in a system where the odds are overwhelmingly stacked against you, and where nobody's interested in a Robert 10 years from now sitting by a pool spouting wisdom about God and running a small business with 3 kids and a good marriage. They're not interested in that. Nobody cares about making that happen when you're in the system. And to get out of the system, it's hard enough to make that life, period. Hard stop. It's hard enough to make that life. Life will knock you down. To come from 4 cinder block walls and a steel table the size of a comic book to a life that's hard enough to make if it's handed to you. That I just wanted to say I really admire that, man. That's one of the hardest things I've ever seen anybody do. I admire that. I think that's really cool.
well, that's what creating greatness is all about, man. I mean, that's what my podcast is all about. And let me just be clear here: we're just getting started, dude. This is the tip of the iceberg, man. Like we're just getting started, and it. This is what I want to end with. Really, people that have lived the life like we have and seen the death and destruction and the misery and the degradation that we've experienced. A lot of times we think, man, if I could just get back to even, I'd be okay. If I could just wake up and feel okay, have a roof, have some food, maybe have some people in my life that love me, I would be great. And you would be. And that's awesome. But here goes the thing. The reason why you sunk so low in the first place is because you have something. You got something. There was something in the world that triggered you and sent you down. You know, maybe you think more than other people. Maybe you're more intelligent than other people. Maybe you have a heart bigger than other people. You feel different. You know, there's so many different aspects of why we go down that dark road. But here goes, you know, some of the best poets, writers, film producers, some of the best athletes. I mean, come on, people. Some of the most special, most magnificent people in this world have went down some of the darkest roads that there is known to human existence. We are special. I'm saying it now. We are special, man. We are the people that have went through the dark, went through the pain, went through the trauma, went through the abuse, went through the addiction. And if you are able to scrape and claw your way out of that dark and find that light and that love in your life, you have a superpower. You have a superpower within you. There's something special about you. You made it out when so many others didn't. So many others are dead. So many others are in jail. So many others are done for life. You made it out. You made it through. You're now here with us here, listening to this podcast, listening to these gems, and you are special and you are capable. And you're not just capable of being okay and having a decent life. You're capable of absolute greatness. You can far exceed anyone's expectations for you and your life. You know why? Because you clawed your way out of something that people can't even never understand. So yes, me sitting here in Southwest Florida in a beautiful home with an amazing family and a pool I'm getting ready to cool off in as soon as this show's over is wonderful. But I promise you, my friends, we're just getting started. And you are capable of not only this, but more. I'm the average Joe. I'm the average Joe that was able to do this through the processes and procedures that I've discussed on this show and that we discussed on Creating Greatness. And I want you to take this as a smack in the face, as a kick in the butt, as a fire under your pants, and get to work because you got it and you're worth it.
Where do I get the podcast? Anywhere?
Yeah, it's all over the place. I try to channel people through Spotify because that's where you're going to get all the new shows right away as soon as they drop. You get the video format there as well as the clips, you know, if you want to just see what the episode's about. And I also post those clips on my social media outlets, which are either Creating Greatness Podcast or King of Comebacks with 2 Ks. And yeah, man, you know, we're happy to have you. And you can always email me at creatinggreatnesspodcast@gmail.com, all lowercase, if you want to be on the show, have me on your show, or questions, comments, and concerns.
Fantastic. And when's the book coming out?
I'm praying, brother.
Okay.
I'm praying. I'm trying to finish by the end of 2025, you know, and to be honest with you, I'm about halfway through. We're 3 months in. I'm feeling pretty good, but at the same time, it's so much. I'm not sure if it'll be done, but I'm working towards that goal. And then, I'm still exploring like how to, publish it. I'm not even sure how I'm doing any of it. I just know that if I keep moving one foot in front of the other, I'm going to get it done and it's going to get out. And, I'll certainly let you know when I get there, brother.
It will be brought to you if you don't do it. I believe that. So yeah. Thanks for doing this, man. I feel like I made a friend. Thank you for doing this.
No, man, you have made a friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, we can stay in touch. I would absolutely love that. And I just want to thank you as well, you know, because a lot of times speaking so openly and so honestly, like I did about my political views, and I just did it because you asked me and I wanted to be honest and not souring or being upset with me or not wanting to be my friend because of it. That means a lot to me, sir. And I encourage the rest of humanity to kind of take up what you just laid out there, man. That was really awesome. And it was very kind of you. Thank you.